Name is David, David Murrow, and I'm a welder as well as an ironworker. I've been in the trade for about 6.5 years. I work non-union and now currently work in a union. I remember a conversation I had with my uncle about 5 years prior where he said there was going to be about 150,000 welding, ironworking, machine shop, blue collar jobs that are going to be coming forward through the woodwork as people are retiring and people are moving away from trades and people are moving towards a digital age. I didn't want to go to school uh, because I looked at my current semester and how many credits I needed to advance. And I saw that it was a lot of books that I couldn't afford, a lot of tuition that I couldn't really pay. And so I remember I was trying to get a degree in hospitality management. I wanted to work with hotels. And I thought about it and I said, well, is there any welding classes near me? I looked at my community college and it turns out there was one that was just starting up that year. And wild enough, there was 2 days left to sign on if you wanted to get a grant. You were there on Saturdays for about 8 to 10 hours though. So you would cram, you would study, you would hands-on with all the different welding processes. And at the end of it, they give you a certification that allows you and says, hey, I could work. And the only thing that they asked from this grant was they allow the people who filed the grant are allowed to contact you for the next 10 years and track your employment history and ask you questions like, oh, hey, did this college course help you for your future? Or do you think we should fund more stuff like this because it helped you in some positive way?
So that you would be able to take to an employer and be like, hey, I'm no rookie here. I have this certificate. I know the basics. Get me in.
It was a level 1 welding certificate, specifically for dual shield and stick. However, they were AWS certifications in the uphill position, so you could start at a structural shop.
So where did you take your certificate to?
I took it to a good amount of places. I'm from the San Diego area. A little bit up north here, there is a shop that I went to, and I didn't know this at the time, but that would be my home for the majority of my career. And so it was a structural steel company, and they asked and they said, well, do you want to work? And I said, yeah. And they're like, well, can you start tomorrow? And I said, yeah, I could be here tomorrow. What do you need? They're like, you need steel toe boots, you need pants, and you need like some safety glasses, and we'll get you gloves and everything else. Just come here. And then so I was a welding assistant for that first year and a half, changing out wire, changing out bottles of gas, grinding out bad welds, flipping over giant columns and beams of steel, and prepping material. And so I was really annoyed with it at first because I wanted to weld. But the thing is that what they don't teach you in class is that you being hands-on and being in the trade, you learn way more than anything you can learn in the classroom.
Agreed. I started off as a welder helper too, and I felt the same way. I was like, when am I going to get to weld? I spent my lunches before work, after work. I mean, just running bead after bead, and oh man, my welds were something to look at for sure.
I will say that the people who do what you do or did in your regard, where they're coming in early to practice, they're staying late to practice, they're using their lunchtime to practice because they're not welders, those guys and those women, those are the people that move forward in the trade because they show the drive that you need to have in this industry because this work isn't for everyone. And it shows your employer a lot. If you're staying late, you're the last person to turn the lights off, and you're also the first person here to turn the lights on. I mean, that goes a long way in the trade.
Yeah, I really did enjoy working at the shipyard, and really the whole reason why I went back to school was because I got all that hands-on experience, but I wanted to know more. I wanted to learn more. There was something in me that really wanted to understand more about it. Okay. Hold on. We have to take a pause because my daughter just barged in. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
Oh, hello. That's so funny.
Okay. She's telling me it's happy birthday. Oh. Let me just give it like 2 minutes and we'll be back.
Okay, no worries.
Oh my gosh, sorry. My daughter's so funny. She just barged open the door and was like, "Mom, happy birthday."
Is it your birthday?
No, it's not. But she had this huge obsession over like birthdays for the longest time, and she'd be like, "It's my birthday. It's my birthday." And then we're like, I did tell her, "Your birthday's in August." And so her birthday just passed and she turned 3, and she just thought birthdays were like the best thing ever.
That's really adorable and wholesome. I like that.
Yeah. But God, what were we even talking about? Shops? Oh yeah, being a welder helper. The joys of being a welder helper.
Right. And I mean it's a big change of pace. So I stuck with it for a year and a half being a welder helper, and then I finally got my opportunity. The story of the opportunity is pretty wild. There was a new welder that was coming in, and they were testing him out. And it was just about the time where summer was about to start, and we were going to get slammed. So they said, okay, we're going to give you a shot. You know, your interview, you gave us a weld test. Now we want to see you work. They gave us a beam with 50 clips and stiffeners to weld on there. They put him on one side of the beam and they painted the middle, and they put me on the other side. They said, okay, and they said start, and we went to town. That was 2G fillet welds uphill on the groove welds. It was flat on, I mean, every position you could think except overhead on this beam. Mm-hmm. And they were testing speed and they were testing the quality of the welds. The sad part about this is that midway through, the guy left into the bathroom, and we didn't see him for about half an hour. We came to find that he had a needle in his arm, and he was using heroin. And we asked him, you know, why would you do that? And he said, "Oh, I'm just trying to escape. My mom just overdosed on heroin last night and she died." And we were like, "Well, I don't think this is the right thing for you if your mom just passed away from that stuff." And so my boss was kind to him and gave him a chance to work until the end of the week and then leave. But I got the position to start welding. Mm-hmm. And that was, it was like, oh, shoot, okay, this is go time. We're about to get slammed. Trucks, like 2 to 3 trucks a day with beams, columns. And that was that. I stayed at that shop for, it would be 5.5 years there. And I learned everything, the torch, mag drilling, layout, you know, the whole shebang. Like I at this point at that shop, I could take the beam off a truck, lay it out, put all the pieces on it, weld it, clean it up, put it back on the truck. And the only thing I don't do is drive it to wherever it needs to go. And I learned that from being a helper and watching everyone and learning from them. Those old timers know what they know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could imagine coming from a hospitality position, working at a hotel could be a huge career change.
Right. And with that, I mean, when I started in this trade, a welder helper was making $13 an hour. In California, that's not great, even though that was 2017. By the time I was done over there, I was making $23 an hour. So I got $10 worth of raises within 5 years, which was a great track. But I always heard about welders, specifically TIG welders, making more. And so I made the decision to leave the company and start at a different company, a sanitation company, where I could learn TIG. And that didn't end as great as I thought it would either. You'll notice, and many of you will notice, that for every couple steps forward you take, there are a few setbacks. Jobs get pushed, jobs don't line up correctly. Maybe you did wrong layout. Maybe materials aren't correct. There's all kinds of stuff that happens. Maybe your foreman thinks you're not as smart as you really are. Maybe you don't have the same opportunity to use a machine. A lot of external factors come in with this trade. And it's really one of those things where you're talking to yourself under the hood every day. I mean, you are talking to yourself constantly while you're burning rod, while you're burning wire, because that's all you have, unless you're able to listen to music.
But I just feel like I've seen what a good weld looks like, and I'm constantly comparing my welds to what I think it should look like.
You know, wild enough, we are our own worst critics, but the guy you're working right next to is also your worst critic too. And when new people come in, you know, at other jobs, you're kind of like, oh, we got new coworkers. When you're in the trades, you're not looking to make friends. You're wondering if that person is going to be taking your machine, if they're going to be taking your spot in your shop or in the field. And there's a competitive side to this trade that not a lot of people like to talk about. But if people are faster, they make nicer products, and they are generally a better hand, you will get pushed out. And so
that's the harsh truth.
Yeah, and I love the trades, and it's basically what I've done since pretty much the end of high school. And it has its ups and downs, as most things in life do. So I went to a sanitation company. I was a fleet welder. And for those who don't know, welding in a fleet is like repairing trucks, trailers, Jeeps, all kinds of stuff for basically an army of of whatever the company is. You know, they have semis, they have work trucks, work vans, all kinds of stuff. It was cool. I never had the opportunity to learn the TIG because that was more for very finite work that they had there. I made the conscious decision to leave when I finally got an offer from the local union in San Diego.
And how is that going? And I heard you're with the Ironworkers now?
Yeah, so the local 229 Ironworkers. I am a low period apprentice, but I have been
229.
That's literally I've been enjoying every step of it. So an important thing in this industry is that you should make goals for yourself. Maybe in 6 months you want to get this welding cert. Maybe in 6 months you want to ask for a raise. Maybe 2 years from now you want to be foreman. So for me,
are these goals you make with your local union, or are these just self-motivating goals that you want to accomplish throughout your journey?
So this is the thing, like when I say goal making, I mean just any trade in general. For me, I wanted to weld. I stuck out at that place for a year and a half as a helper, and then I got my chance. For other people, you know, maybe they want to run the shop one day, and so they stay late and they look at plans and they go over stuff with the boss. I guess what it is just generally telling you about trades is you have to make goals for yourself in the trades, or else you will fall behind and become stagnant. The monotony will eat you alive. And so for me right now, with the local 229 Ironworkers, I believe the success rate for the whole 4-year program is at about a 60%. 60% of people who go in there pass, or they make it through their entire journeyman experience from a period 1 apprentice all the way to technically level 9 journeyman. Mm-hmm. And that's a 4 years of working. That is 4 years of going to school. That is 4 years of unpaid school. It's a lot of work. I mean, and they cover a lot of stuff in the Ironworkers Union.
They take care of the cost, correct?
Yeah. Unpaid meaning you sign up to be the apprentice and go through their program. The only thing that you have to pay is the dues. So, and there's a lot of anti-union sentiment within the last, I'd say, 5 years, saying that dues are very expensive. Dues are not expensive. They're about $50 a month. And when you're getting,
an education and training,
and like, I don't know.
That's an investment. Are those dues? That sounds like an investment to me.
Right. And it is an investment on yourself. When your paychecks are looking anywhere from $750 to $1,000 for those very low period apprentices, $50 isn't too bad.
Are we talking weekly, or is that?
We're talking weekly. We're talking
weekly. Okay.
To the anti-union people, I tell them, yes, you could use it to buy a new video game console, or you could use it to educate your future and perhaps make $56 to $57 an hour in 4 years, doing the same work that you're doing now. A lot of those dues pay for your health insurance, dental, pension, and other things. I'm not going to try to toot the horn of the union too much, but it was just kind of a mythical thing that I've always heard about when I was in the industry, non-union. Mm-hmm. Oh, you got to join the union. You got to check it out. Field work and shop work are entirely different. I'm having fun with it, as well as I'm taking the time to go back to that welder helper mentality where I'm watching these journeymen do their thing. I'm taking notes. And then when I get my chance, I'm going to try my best.
Did we talk about what year you are in your apprenticeship?
So I have been in for about 6 months now.
Okay.
I am not a level 1. I am a level 2 because of the finite experience I got. Yeah. I've known other people who've gotten in at higher levels. So if you're thinking, oh, I've been a foreman, like why would I go in if I'm going to be a level 1? They could bump you up if they see that you have the skills and the criteria to be a higher level.
Mm-hmm. But do they put you at the same training level when you go and do the education side of it? Or are you just, everybody starts from the same basic education?
You will be fast-tracked for your education. Instead of going over basics, you'll be going over general. You'll be going through majority of the stuff rather than just the intro of stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. And so after the 4 years, you stay as a journeyman with the union.
Correct. And with that ability, you're able to leave your local and go to a different local, whether it's in New York or Canada or Britain. Or
do you have any plans to leave your local after you pay your dues and do your 4 years?
I've never been to New York, and I hear that they run things a lot differently than San Diego. I think it would be really cool to weld on a skyscraper out there. It sounds like a good time. It's a completely different ballpark. Some locals are mixed. They do rebar, they do structural steel, they do ornamental, they do precast concrete, they do bridges. In San Diego, we are not allowed to build a building over a certain height in downtown. It is because of the airports.
Yeah. The San Diego airport.
Correct. So when I was talking to New Yorkers who have boomed out to San Diego, and they're like, if you really want to see high, when you journey out, go to New York, because those guys will be tied off thousands of feet in the air. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's just you and the iron, and it's cool. Walking the iron for the first time was super nerve-wracking, but once you get a good foot on it,
yeah, it just becomes like secondhand nature. You don't even think about it at that point anymore.
Yeah, just got to make sure that you're tied off and you're okay. You got to make sure that your lanyard is clipped onto something. That's all I say.
Yeah, I just welded on a carousel. I had to climb up top of it. And after I climbed up top of it, I was like, wait a minute, everything is down on my work
bed.
At the work bed or the work truck. And I was like, okay, can you hand me this? Can you hand me this? Can you hand me this? I mean, I mean, if you're going up there, are you taking all your whole tool bag, your whole toolbox? Like, how, I didn't even think about, once you're up there, how do you get all your tools up there?
So a lot of the trades and a lot of stuff in the field, they have things called Joe boxes or gang boxes. Typically, they're either craned or they're forklifted onto the job sites. So depending on the trade and depending on how many floors and stuff, you could be like, hey, this is all the tools that we have. Please send it up the 60 stories that it needs to go up to, send it to level 16 or whatever. They also have man lift elevators that you could take that stuff up with that the Crane Operators Union build on job sites. For tools on your person, though, for the Ironworker specifically, and this is across all locals, you're required to keep your belt on at all times while you're at work, unless you're at break or in the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
They think that your belt typically should be about 50 pounds of stuff. In my belt bag, I carry, what do I carry? I carry a pair of side cutting pliers, a pocket knife, center punch. I carry 2 bolt bags. The bolt bags are filled with a level, a speed square, tie wire, electrical tape, welding chipping hammer, wire brush, any bolts, nuts, or grinding wheels that I'll need for the day. And then typically I'll have a tape measure or 2, a couple Sharpies, a couple pieces of soapstone. And then the most important thing for the iron workers are our wrenches. So a 12-inch adjustable crescent and our 2 fixed, whether they're 7/8 or 1 inch. And the spuds specifically are what they are. They're the ones that have like the pike on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Those are used for connecting, as well as you could have a sleever bar, which is used for, it's basically like a giant crowbar, but ergonomically made to lift up metal. It's usually on a washer, on a frog is what we call it. And then 2 bull pins, which help you center holes as well. 50 pounds is what they say. It could definitely be a lot more or a lot less depending on the kind of work that you're doing. For the reinforcing iron worker, it's a little different. They'll probably have a tie wire reel and diagonal cutters. And that's probably about it.
Okay, well, if it's safe, I definitely need to see a picture of you in action. I'm trying to visualize all this, and I'm like thinking about what's in your tool bag and you up on this high beam. And I'm thinking about like the leads. I mean, you're tying off your lead onto your beam so it holds the excess weight.
Right. I mean,
okay.
This is where it gets really important with the school stuff. You got to know your knots, because you could throw down a line and then your apprentice or whoever's down there should tie your stinger to that rope so you could just pull it up, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the ground. And I'm gonna answer the age-old question of what do I like better, Lincoln or Miller right now? I learned on Miller, and I like Miller,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a difference for me. For shop stuff, I will always use a Miller.
Mm-hmm.
For field stuff, Lincoln has them beat in efficiency and cost. Most of the welders that use wire use LN25s. But here's the thing, the generators that they use are Miller welding generators. So to answer the age-old question, which is better? Neither. We use both of them. So
I did learn on a Lincoln, and I also learned on a Miller as well. I feel like they do have different purposes, and every machine is good for different purposes.
I absolutely agree. Maybe even take a welding test. You use the same settings on 2 different machines, you're going to get 2 different puddles.
Right. And I feel like it's so important to always watch your puddles, and just adjusting your settings is key when working with different machines. Because, yeah, like you said, you could go into your shop and it could have a Miller. You could go out into the field, it could have a Lincoln. It's better not to get hung up over brand names and preferences, because then you get stuck on a one-track mindset, and it becomes harder when you're trying to adapt.
Right. And I think something that's important for this trade is the ability to be adaptable.
100%. We're always solving problems. We're always trying to make it work with what we have.
You're looking for solutions all the time, whatever they may be. The person that keeps the job, though, is the person that can make a solution and just make it work. And I can't emphasize enough the competitive nature of the job. Right now, with my ironworking journey, my goal is to get through the 4-year program and journey out. If there's only a 60% success rate, I want to be a part of that 60%. And then after I journey out, I would like to take the extra courses that they have for rigging. I would love to rigging, chasing the hook and putting, knowing all your knots and being able to look at a giant piece of steel, and then you're like, boom, it's on the crane, and bam, it's going 300, 400, 500 feet in the sky, and it's not going anywhere. That's a good feeling.
Have you ever, it's happened for me. I don't know how to word it because it's a feeling. It's not it's hard to explain. It's like, you ever had that moment where you're on the job site and you're working hard and you just take a look around and you're like, this is it? Like, what or when in that point in your welding journey did you come to that realization?
I've had a few occurrences of that feeling. One was when we were slammed in the shop. We had to get, I believe, 100 columns done within a day because someone messed up on the shipping stuff. So that's when they brought us all the welders together and said, hey, we get 100 units done today. They're 25-foot columns with 2 base plates and studs on the back of them, and they're 60 feet long. And the forklift's just going to go in and out, in and out, in and out. If we run out of diesel, we're going to get more. And I just need you guys to just set them, lay them out, put the plates on there, weld the 1/4 inch to 5/16 welds on all 3 sides, and do the stud welds and just keep jamming. And we were just going. That's one of those moments where you scream wire really fucking loud, and you just hope to God that the helper heard you. And then you're preparing the next piece, and you're hoping by the time that you're ready to go, that your helper put your wire in correctly and you could just shoot the gun and be happy, And so we were just slamming these out. We got all 100 done in the day. It only took 9 hours instead of an 8-hour day. That's with 4 or 5 welders just going nonstop. The fans blasting. And at the end of the day, our boss, he got us a 12-pack of beer and was like, hey, good fucking job today. And we look back at this giant stack of 100 columns and we're just like, wow, we did that. So that was one of those moments where I was like, this is it. Like I have the ability to be a part of a team, to run work and to do my work as fast as I can and make good welds that last. The stuff that we're working on is structural. And funny enough, the one of the jobs that I did recently, or before I left that place, was our actual high school. I got to fab the beams and columns. I told them I specifically wanted that job. I wanted to do that job. So the solar panels, those were fabbed by me, the solar panel structures.
Wow. That is definitely an impact that you could look back on and be like, I was a part of that.
Right. So I guess it was those 2 moments, the 100 columns in a day, and then when our high school job came in, and I was like, give me the plans, let me see. And they have the address of our high school on there, and I was like, it all comes full circle. And so I told them, I don't want anyone else working on this. I want to do this one personally, and I got to just go to town on it.
And did you get to see the end result, like when they put it in the high school?
I got to see the gates, and I got to see them like hang it, and then a couple days later, the school was open, and there it was. I signed my name in one of the columns. I put a little DM inside it, and then I sealed it up. So if you cut open one of those columns in there, it'll have my initials.
Yeah, that's great. That is awesome.
The other one was when I was helping the connectors and the raising gang on one of these recent jobs I was doing. I was doing Firewatch, and when I was helping the raising gang, they're like, "Hey, we're going to be connecting. We're on the 16th floor. Bolts could be dropping. We're going to be cutting angle. We need you to like tape this area off." And I made sure that no one would go in the area. And then eventually they let me onto the steel to help with connecting. That was one of those moments. The first time I got on the iron, the first time I put a bolt in, the first time I was able to actually be like, okay, I'm taking this giant spud wrench that's brand new, and I'm putting dirt on it. I'm putting scratches on it, and I'm really starting this ironworking thing correctly. And so that was a big moment, as well as when I installed safety wire on the 16th floor of a building in San Diego, where usually people tie off to the safety wire, but no one ever thinks, wait, who installed the safety wire? I was installing the safety wire. So that's when you like tether your tools. You have lanyards on your tools, and you're just like, I cannot drop anything or that person is dead. And so that was a oh shit moment for me.
Yeah, when the stuff you do really impacts somebody else. God, my best Firewatch stories is when I actually see a fire.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I just feel like I became a pyromaniac after being a fire watcher. I was just sitting there like, fire! Oh my God, there's an actual fire! And the
You're
paint.
Like, I gotta do something.
Right? Well, no, I mean, the paint, by the time I had seen that there was a fire that had actually started, the paint would burn itself for about like a couple seconds and die out on its own.
I think Firewatch is something that everyone should do at least once. So over the years, I've gained a lot of lessons through old timers, through people who are slightly older than me, people my age. You kind of pick up bits and pieces of information here and there. And so for me, I wrote 10 things down that helped me throughout the entire 6.5 years that I've been doing this trade, and I wanted to share them with you.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Okay, so for number one, a great welder and structural person taught me this one, is to keep learning every day. So, I mean, every day that I go onto the job site, I learn something new, even if I don't think I do. Taking the time to realize what that is after takes a little bit of work, but you will pick up little bits and pieces every day, and just not only in school, but on the job. And so I highly recommend you pay attention in class when safety and stuff that considers like health hazards or puts people's lives in danger. You should always pay attention because you would want people to pay attention for you. So I recommend that. Number two, APM is what I call it. Always prep metal. The 5 minutes it takes to grab a cord and a grinder and grind, galvanize or grind rust or clean something correctly with solvents. So taking the time to prep always helps. It always helps to take pride in your work. If you're going to be showing this off to other people, if it's going to be your cap weld, if it's going to be on the side of the building that is showing outwards, you want it to look nice, or else we're going to judge you for it.
Any welder that walks past it and be like, yep, I could do better than that. Man, I could have done that job.
Right. And then you realize that they're working with like the worst kind of machine that's like 37 years old and barely functions.
That, or sometimes they just gave that welder helper a chance. I mean,
oh yeah.
They're just like, run me a bead there, like give me your best bead. Let me see it, it could
go
be
grab
that
your hood.
I look for consistency. I'm always running my hands along handrails. I'm always checking out like underneath, like, I mean, I'm just always looking out for them when I'm out in public, seeing what's out there, what's acceptable in the industry. That's what I'm most curious about, like, what is it something I can do? Like, is that acceptable? I can do that.
Yeah. Just so you know, people, sometimes when the painters and the plasterers put their paint and stuff over it, sometimes they make stuff that look good look pretty bad. That's also a thing. Number 3, a closed mouth never gets fed. This is very important. When you're starting out, it's very easy to be timid and afraid to ask stuff from your employer, ask for plans, ask for, hey, what are we doing today? Ask for something as simple as, I need a respirator, or I need a respirator filter.
That PPE.
Don't be afraid to ask. The other day I was on a job. We had to use the Type 2 hard hats, which are the ones with the bike chin strap. And we weren't doing anything crazy, but the sun was beating down on us. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, I noticed that a lot of the trades have these like sun hat covers for their hard hats. Basically makes it like a hat. And he was like, I'll go check and see if I could get those. The next day he comes back. His whole team has it, except he only has one for the apprentices. But who does he give it to? He gives it to me because I was the one that asked. And then so the other 2 guys, they're like, where are ours? And I'm like, well, they ran out. And that's just one of those things where the closed mouth doesn't get fed. So speak up when you need something. And then 4, most trades are not cut out for the faint of heart. You're going to be dirty. Job sites and shops are going to be loud. You're going to be covered in cuts, bruises, burns. You're going to be covered in metal shavings, and it's going to feel icky, and it's going to be 100 degrees, 95% humidity. So just realize that even when you're at your lowest, dirtiest, and most grossest, you still get to go home at the end of the day and shower and have a nice meal, maybe have a drink, maybe spend time with loved ones. And that's what all this work is about. We want people to work hard, and we want them to come home safe. So even if it sucks, and trust me, you have to embrace the suck in this trade, it's all worth it.
Agreed.
Agreed. Number 5, don't judge a book by its cover. Old timers, felons, ex-cons, drug users, they all have stories and lives that led them up to being in front of you, working alongside them. They have a wealth of knowledge, even though they do degenerate things. Those people, I've learned a lot of tricks of the trade and how to fix things improperly, how to jerry-rig stuff, how to make something that isn't going to work, but barely, And those people, you'll think back years later and be like, wow, that guy was crazy, but he was on to something. Number 6, be professional in everything you do. What that means is you should always be early to a job site, and you should always strive to be the last to leave. But not only that, you should be kind to your coworkers as well as your foremans. Even if they're an asshole and treating you awful, a simple yes, keeping your head down and doing your work will go a long way rather than you complaining, dragging your feet, or just simply running away from it. One day you could be fighting with someone, and then 10 years down the line, you're working for them. You just never know in this trade.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was a helper, I was kind of a little shit because I could run around the entire shop and just fuck with everyone. But now I look back and I'm like, I can't afford to do that now. So be professional. Number 7, invest in quality boots and tools. If I were you, if you ever had the extra cash, spend the money on high quality boots because your feet, your knees, and your back will thank you for it. And same with tools. In some cases, our tools, other people's, and our own lives depend on it. A spud wrench with the pike at the end, if I'm standing on and I'm going in the hole and I'm going 60 feet down and no way to catch me, that could have been prevented if I bought something that's tried and true and made in America. Number 8, make sure to drink electrolyte. We lose a lot of salts and potassium when we sweat. And the difference between you cramping out and not being able to work or go home that day is the difference of you drinking a little bit of Gatorade or having a banana or eating something that is salty. Number 9, keep your head on a swivel. Always look out for stuff that's going overhead. Always look at the load size, and just make sure that you're doing stuff correctly. You don't want to put diesel fuel in the gasoline port. You don't want to put the guy who's not certified for the crane in the crane. It's simple things that will make your life easier and give you peace of mind. And then number 10, have fun. We're here to work. We're here to make a living. But we're also here to better ourselves in this industry. And we make friends along the way. You will be seeing your coworkers 8 hours a day, 5 days, 6 days a week. You will probably see them more than your own family in some regards, especially with 10-hour days. Those people will become your family. You will put your life in their hands, and they will put their lives in your hands. So make memories, have fun, and just be safe and work safe. And always keep learning and do your best in everything you do. And that's pretty much all I have for all of that. So my name is David Murrow. If you're interested in following me on Instagram at deathmurgic, MURGIC.
Mahalo for tuning in to our second episode on an iron steelworker from San Diego. If you know anyone who's in a blue-collar trade who would like to be on our podcast, we'd love to have them on our show. Anyways, until next time, Kanaka.